Lyn Tretiak is a local artist who will be displaying her work at Art in the Park in Maple Ridge from June 27th to 29th. Lyn has taken scores of photos on several trips to Ukraine over the past 8 years. This past year, she began to paint canvases from those photos, and she'll have several of them at Art in the Park, as well as prints and cards of all the images. Profit from the sales and orders taken during the show will support 2 schools in Hitusko and Turyansky villages about 50 miles east of Lviv. Lyn joins me now to tell us about her work here at home and in Ukraine. Thanks so much for joining us, Lyn.
Thank you very much, Paulina. First of all, I'd like people to know that I have 15 original paintings that were inspired by our 4 trips to Ukraine over the past 8 years. I do have a few paintings on other subjects, but certainly my 2008 work is only of Ukraine. 7 of the originals will be for sale. A couple of them are watercolors, and the rest are oil paintings. I'll have cards and prints of all my work for sale. The cards will start as low as $1.50 and up. Some of those cards I do produce here at home on my computer, and that's why I can afford to sell them so cheaply. Because of our visits to Ukraine, we have a strong interest in a couple of schools just east of Lviv, and we have been supporting those schools with things such as excursions for the primary school, repairs to their gym, computers, tables, books, even the stoves which were falling apart in the primary school. And so the profit, any net profit from my proceeds, will go to help those 2 village schools. Certainly we've gotten a lot more out of the support that we have given them in terms of friendship, children's art that they have given to me. It's been a very reciprocal relationship.
This is a fabulous story, Lyn, and I'd like to just get a little bit more context. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started in this art. Now, you've only been painting really for the last year.
Well, that's true. I did paint before I became a teacher and before I was a school principal, but between that and raising my 2 boys, I was way too busy to paint for 33 years.
Wow.
Then when I retired in 2006, I asked my staff at Pitt Meadows Elementary if they were thinking of a gift for me to please buy me some oil painting supplies, which they did. Those sat unused for a while as I caught up on many, many chores that were outstanding over the years. And then this February, I thought, this is it, now or never. And since February, I've done, about 18 paintings, 15 of them about Ukraine. So certainly an inspiration from my staff that they would help me get started in that way as well.
An inspiration, I'll say. You had that many paintings just since this past February.
Yes.
And
that's correct.
Wow. I mean, this is radio, so unfortunately we can't show anybody. People are going to have to go out to Art in the Park and see it. But you sent me one of the, when you emailed me, and thank you very much, by the way, for contacting me, a beautiful painting of some dancers, and this was taken from a photo that you took in Ukraine, correct?
That's right. The students were at a fine arts school on the Dnieper River. It's Novaya Kakova Fine Arts School. They have dance, painting, music, and we actually stopped there a couple of times on our trips to Ukraine, and so from one of the photos I did this particular picture. The bulk of my other paintings are of Western Ukraine, several from the village, portraits, a portrait of my husband's first cousin, who we did not even know existed until 2003, countryside scenes, one of the very typical wooden wagons, even wooden wheels on the wooden wagons, which are the main method of transport for many people still in Western Ukraine. And a number of the pictures will not be for sale because they are very personal. I'll have them on display. But, for example, one of my husband's cousins went with us a year ago and discovered that on her father's side she is a member of the Hutzul minority. So I have a painting of her beside a Hutzul statue, and she's posed like a Hutzul. We have a picture of another cousin receiving the ceremonial bread from his relative that he was meeting for the first time in the village of Malomolentsy, which is near Khmelnytsky. And so those paintings I'll have on display. I will have cards and prints from those, but the originals will be gifts for those relatives who've gone on the trips to Ukraine with us.
Wonderful.
Other items, there's a beautiful church that my father-in-law was baptized in Utisko-Torianska over 100 years ago. Beautiful wooden church, and it's wonderful inside. Many, many pictures, and I will also bring, if I remember them, my photo albums in case people who've listened to your broadcast would like to see some of these areas. I love talking about Ukraine, as you may have gathered.
That's perfect for a radio program. Now, tell us a little bit briefly about these schools that you had sent me a wonderful story, and I hope to put that online in detail. But just a little bit about what you're doing with these two schools, village schools in Ukraine.
Right. Well, the first school that we came in contact with was a primary school. It's in the village of Utisko, and it has 2 rooms, about 35 students in a typical year. They do have electricity. The heat is an old-fashioned ceramic corner fuel-burning heater, as you'll find in many public buildings in Ukraine and the former Soviet Union. They do have electricity, as I said, but they have no running water. The little primary children who be kindergarten, grade 1, 2, 3 age level have to go out in the bushes to the toilet. Well, not the bushes, actually. There is a shed. There's no running water, so they have a bucket of water, which is the communal hand-washing bucket inside. They are pretty well supplied for books, but things like extra paper they didn't have. Until last year, there was no photocopier, which teachers that I've worked with would find almost impossible as a working condition.
Right.
There's no photocopier. So when we purchased for that primary school a computer with a printer, scanner, copier, that was sort of the first time they were in the modern era for using media. In fact, the teacher, I've got a picture of her using a computer, and I understand that her hand was shaking because it was the first time she'd actually touched a computer in her life.
Oh, my goodness.
We got in contact with that primary school because on our first visit, before we found out that we have relatives in the village, we were shown around the village by a wonderful gentleman. We told him we were looking for Tretiaks, and when we drove up, he said, and please excuse my non-Ukrainian accent, "Ya bahato Tretiak dam." So he took us around, introduced us to as many Tretiaks as he could find, but we couldn't find the connection. We were sure they were related. We didn't know how. They refused any gift for their many hours of showing us around the village. So we asked if we could help the school, and the school teacher, Nadia Ivanovna, actually she's the principal of the little 2-room school, took it on herself to keep looking for our relatives. One of the children in her school, the great-grandmother of this student in her school, turned out to be my husband's first cousin, Hannah.
Wow.
And since then, we've had a wonderful connection with that school. It's almost like they're part of the family. Every time we go to Ukraine, we visit. I love to talk to the children with the little bit of Ukrainian that I have and look at their artwork, which they've given to me. But there's been that special connection because Nadia Ivanovna was able to find this first cousin, and through her, other generations of relatives that we had no idea existed.
What a beautiful family reunification story.
It is.
That's incredible. So you'll be continuing. You've only begun this work then, really, and you're going to be continuing. And the Art in the Park then is going to be part of that project that you'll be helping these schools?
Yes, it will. We've actually been funding that primary school with various things such as the excursions and repairs. Since 2004, we've sent the children on 5 different field trips because there's no money in their budgets for that sort of frivolity.
Right.
The things that the children do were things like going to the Moscow Circus, which came to Lviv one time. This year they went to a puppet theater and a museum, and when we send them on an excursion, we provide some sort of a snack as well during the day. And for many of these children, this might be the only time that they get out of that village. As I explained, many of the people still rely on horses and wagons for transportation, and that doesn't go very far. But I hope to see many of your listeners at Art in the Park in Maple Ridge, and there'll be a forest of tents there. It's right in front of the Act theater in what they call the Peace Park. Best approach, if I could give some traffic directions.
Please.
If you're coming either way from the Lougheed Highway, turn north on 224th, and in about a block's time, you will see the Peace Park on your right. There will be many tents set up there because in addition to my own art, there'll be about 20 or more other artists with paintings, ceramics, jewelry, etc., and I hope to see many of you there. Setting up a web page.
Okay.
I will have some personal business cards, so they'll be available at Art in the Park.
Okay.
I will give people my email. It's Lyna Tretiak, Tretiak, @mac.com.
Okay, that's fabulous. And of course, if people didn't catch that or forget, they can always contact me, and I can be very happy to put them in touch with you, Lyn.
Okay.
This is wonderful work. Thank you so much for joining us and for telling us your story, and look forward to seeing your art and hearing more from you.
Thank you very much.